Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon. Thank you for being with us on this afternoon edition of the first Meet Canon webinar. My name is Max Taverna. I've been in charge of the Canon News for more than 30 years, and I would like to introduce you today a new concept of communication. Exceptional situation happened across the world. Since the end of February, the COVID-19 pandemic changed our way of life. We manage both daily routines and jobs in a new way, and all our communication activities had to be adapted to this situation, and we defined new tools to stay in touch with current and potential customers, with raw material suppliers, with our business partners, with business media. Let me present you today the first live online meeting, a webinar, a new tool of communication flanking classic events as we have always done, like trade shows, seminars, conferences, open days. This webinar is the first of a series that we will run in the next 3 months in preparation for the first digital open house that will take place on October 20, 21st, and 22nd. In these 3 days, we will deal with 3 different market segments of the PU technology. We will hold live roundtables like today. We will hold recorded roundtables. We will have one-to-one meetings with our specialists. We have organized it in a way that different time zones from the Far East Asia to the west coast of the United States can be covered during the same day, and it will be possible to subscribe to these Meet Canon events online on our social media or on our websites. And it will also be possible to book private meetings with our specialists. Just a remark, these will be technical meetings, and our specialists, our speakers are among the best specialists in the area of technical matters that they will handle. And we promise to stay free from marketing hype and to keep the content of these meetings at the highest technical level. We hope in this way to continue the dialogue with our business partners that were so heavily affected by the COVID-19 pandemic in their lives, in their business, in their markets, and in the stability of the whole world, unfortunately. From idea to factory, how to transform a concept in a competitive product is the theme of the first webinar. It is fully focused on R&D policies and concepts, on how the co-development of a project is done at Canon. 7 Canon specialists will take part today, plus a special guest, Corrado Cecchini, Global R&D Insulation and Core Process Manager of Electrolux, a world giant in wine appliances and refrigerators. Let me welcome the first 2 speakers of today. Please welcome Alberto Zarantonello, General Manager of Canon Ergos, and Francesco Abba, Sales and Marketing Manager of Canon Afros. With them, we will first of all hear what they do, and secondly, how they how they perceive the importance of a joint development of R&D projects with customers. Alberto.
Okay. Canon Ergos is the engineering company for dry part in Canon Plastic Division. We are active in 6 main market segments: appliances, building insulations, automotive, composites, thermoforming, and then specialties. We follow this market because of the 4 main competencies we have developed in-house, which can be resumed in heating, pressing, forming, and handling. For handling, we mean automation.
Francesco.
I'm representing here Canon Afros, which is the company engineering, producing, commercializing, servicing, dosing and mixing equipment for multi-components resins. We were born with the PU, of course, but with the years, we made different experiences with other chemicals such as epoxies, phenolics, silicons, and so on. And we currently produce about 350 dosing units per year and about 1,000 mixing heads per year, including the spare parts dedicated to the after sales. We have an important R&D department that we share with Ergos, made of about 12 people working every day of the year on a new subject, new ideas. They are making research for internal reasons and development with the customers.
And about this research and this development, how does an R&D project reach Canon?
There are different sources. Let's say sometimes they are internal sources. For example, from a commercial department, people are picking up trends on the market. Sometimes are internal technical people who want to exploit or to improve a certain process, a certain equipment. So internal sources. Then, of course, there is the marketing. Marketing is the main source of information that is sometimes transferred to the research and development. But above all, let's say that our customers or possible customers are coming to us with new ideas, with new developments that can be realized, tested, and validated within our group of people. The result of this is, of course, a better presence on the market and a privilege to contribute to this new process with such a customer.
So when a project like this arrives and is in a first step accepted, how does it qualify for Canon?
Priorities are normally decided by a team of sales and technical people based on assumptions, market dimensions, potential market dimensions. But as you can imagine, we cannot predict in advance if a development project may be a commercial success also. Very often it happens that we decide in a development project based on one-shot business. And that's mainly because we want to help the customer to put his trust on us and be loyal to us also when standard projects come.
I'm sure there will be more to elaborate on these two concepts. You can do it, ladies and gentlemen, by applying with a question on the right-hand side of your chat of the Zoom meeting program, and we will collect these questions and we will put them forward to the most appropriate person. So please stay around. You will be reachable later on to give these answers. For the time being, I thank you very much for your presence.
Thank you.
Okay.
Grazie.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.
So we are here with the next two speakers. Let me introduce you Paolo Segaloni, Operations Manager of Canon Tipos, the mold-making company of the group, and Stefano Andreoli, Automotive Polyurethane Sales Manager of Canon Afros. We will hear from them how the tune of Canon being the one-stop shop company for the PU developments is played by our company. Paolo, what is the importance, the main reason of the importance of Tipos in Canon?
The presence of a mold maker inside the Canon group is strictly related to the strategy of Canon. A strategy that we can define a technology strategy, and that is based on a wide technological expertise that we want to make available for our client. In particular, the presence of a toolmaker permits to the group to be present, to support our potential customer from the beginning of development of a new product, suggesting what is the best suitable technology, also indicating some modification that they have to introduce on the part in order to be molded, to the fine-tuning of the process and the production realization of the first part, the first trials that they have to submit to the relevant functional test. And this in Canon could be done without any impact in the production of our client, and also in case that the technology involved are still not in their availability, thanks to the labs that Canon have inside the group. After the first stage, Canon is able to industrialize the process and then to understand with the client if the solution is applicable or not applicable.
So understanding the feasibility of a project together with the customers, and by supplying a whole range of tools to at least start up this production, we provide competitiveness to our customers. Stefano, how do you combine competitiveness and turnkey for our customers?
Well, all Canon companies working for plastic industry are located in Carono Pertusella near Milan. Each individual company is very much focused on specific technologies and processes and products. However, we have a team of technology experts who follow different technologies across the companies of the group. And our R&D center covers under one roof different products and technologies from our companies. So customers coming to us with their R&D project can find everything under one roof, in one place. They can find foaming machines, they can find thermoforming machines, they can find molds, mold carriers, presses, and so on. Thus, they save a lot of time and money in developing their products. And this is definitely for them a remarkable competitive advantage to work with a turnkey supplier as Canon.
So by reducing their time to market and by giving them the whole range of solutions they need, they make a lower effort to develop their product and they get to market easier and quicker. Paolo, what is the role of typos in this shop?
I could not find a better word to answer this question than those used in 2012 by our President Marco Volpato in presenting the acquisition of typos. He told that the acquisition of a tool maker had the objective to allow the involvement of Canon Group in the product design of our customers, allowing us to propose to the market solution and product that are in our core business. Simplifying, I think that the role of typos is to make a bridge between an idea of a new product to the solution that Canon can provide, an industrial solution that Canon can provide, and that could reach the expected target in terms of cost, volume, and quality.
And this is mostly probably applicable to a very important segment of the industry, which is the automotive industry. Stefano, the automotive industry is undergoing a very intense stage of change and innovation. Energy saving, environmental compatibility of the transport media require new solutions. How do you deal with R&D projects towards these two major today's problem?
Yes, as you said, Max, automotive industry is going through a dramatic revolution. The plastic parts in use in the automotive industry are becoming more complex and requirements in terms of mechanical and physical properties are becoming more demanding. We will see in the next future more and more parts made in different materials and with different processes and technologies. So finding in one place the possibility to process these parts is extremely important for our customers. Think, for instance, to battery boxes. We will see more and more combination between polyurethane foams, composite materials, and also thermoformed parts. So customers coming to us will find all these, as I said, in one place. And we will help our customers to develop their products in a consistent, efficient, and industrial way. All in all, the Canon's catchphrase is dedicated industrial solution, and I think that the best place to see how true these words are is our R&D center.
So full dedication to the customers' major business and availability of a number of different solutions, not so easy to find in other competing companies, which are more specialized in one or another field, are two strong points for Canon, as you said before.
Definitely.
Thank you. I ask you guys to stay tuned around this meeting room, because we will have more questions for you, and please submit your questions through the chat of our webinar. Thank you guys for the moment.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you.
Well, now that the major philosophy has been defined and the strategy has been laid on the table, let's go and talk with the guys who do the real work. Let me introduce Mattia Andolfatto, R&D Manager of Canon Ergos, and Luca Campi, R&D Specialist in the Canon Afros laboratory, two of the several guys who run a number of development projects every year here in Carono Pertusella. First question is, I would say, is for Luca. Luca, how long does it take to define the feasibility of a collaboration with a customer?
Oh, the trial definition is a real job before the job itself. So starting from the customer request, we are taking consideration to go deep in detail and understand what we have to do. This helps also the management to decide the terms of the collaboration. We make a real brainstorming that bring a lot of questions, and each of them must be solved, must be answered. We start from the technical details, which kind of dosing unit, the proper mix head, the press, the molds that we have in our lab, or mold that we have to define, design, and realize with our colleague from Tipos. And after that, we move our attention to the staff, choosing who has the bigger experience on that particular technology. And at the end, we take in consideration also the customer request. So how many parts we have to do after the fine-tuning. Sometimes we also agree to keep in our pocket some plan B. So in case the trial show us some limit, we are ready with another solution. So it's definitely a job before the job, and also it often happens that the customer comes here with an idea to produce this product with some technology, and we suggest another point of view because we have an old experience done in our history. Considering more than 50 years of R&D activities and a dedicated industrial solution, we have an old experience that could help us. So at the end, I can answer that it depends about project and project, and it could be easy if we are speaking about a test that we have already done maybe in the last years, or could be very hard and very long when we have in our hands an ambitious project.
So it's a matter of always of months, anyway.
Yes.
Mostly, yes. Mattia, how do you plan a set of trials, and which resources do you need in advance to have everything ready for the start?
Okay, well, we handle trials as complex projects, and as Luca anticipated, you need to start from a very solid plan, or maybe more than one plan in some cases. From there on, you will need to follow that plan, ensuring you are using proper tools. We use typical project management tools such as Gantt charts, resource monitoring, risk mitigation assessments, and so on. Many trials require us to produce dedicated tools or dedicated equipment for that trials, require us to handle hazardous chemicals or materials that we had never used before, or require us to design and define specific safety procedure for an activity. So all these must be taken into consideration when making the plan and when following that. To the second part of the question, first of all, for sure, the engineering department is involved in our trials most of the times. First of all, because they have to design the equipment and the tooling that is needed, but also because later on they will be industrializing all the processes that we are trying to demonstrate with the trials. So they definitely need to be there to see what's happening, to see how the trials are performing, what's going on well, what needs to be perfected, and they will use this knowledge for the industrialization. On top of this, of course, during the preparation of the trials, the purchasing department, the production departments are involved as well, and we work all together. It is then a very common case then that more than one company of Canon, more than one division is involved in the same project, And so all these different companies and divisions must cooperate in parallel in a coordinated way. So also this must be really handled during the project management of the trials. For example, if you take a composite activity or composite production process, you will have to involve Ergos for the reinforcement handling, stacking and preforming phase. You will need Afros for the pouring of the chemicals and the experience on the chemical handling, let's say, of the matrix. You will need typos for the tool, maybe for a prototype tool that is making something new. And so all this must be coordinated and must fit the loading head with the tool, with the path of the robot that doses and so on. On top of all this, you will need to have a very strong and direct interaction with the customer. So we see that this is of utmost importance for the overall project efficiency, and to our experience, I would say that the projects that go well, that go in a better way, are the ones where also the customer is able to build a team dedicated to the task. And so we have with this team a direct information exchange, and this will lead to fast decision making during the trials and is definitely impacting the trial result.
What are we seeing in this moment on the screen?
So what we see in this moment is the production of carbon fiber plate built in our labs to test a new process, a new way of making this component. You will see a part, and you see now, a part that is very thick, 20 millimeters thick, made of several layers of recycled carbon fiber, impregnated with epoxy resin, and that will then be used for let's say after milling, it will be used for making the structural part of bone and teeth prosthetics.
So
it's a nice example.
It's a medical application. So these parts will go into dental prosthesis, yes, as I understand, and probably in future also in bone and exactly, light, sturdy, strong prosthesis for human body, and
exactly,
that's very interesting.
Behind the white paint, you will have something black, probably.
Black probably. Look, all this is clearly something to be done on the field, in the lab. So, how did you manage to do this during the lockdown?
Oh, so you are right. We can tell that before the lockdown, 100% of the trials was in presence of the customer and raw material suppliers. So during the first week after the lockdown was a very tragedy for people like me, like Mattia, who make the organization a mission. But after a few days to get up from the carpet, we have totally changed all the planning and all the schedule, and we have postponed all the trials with potential customers that are suffering the closure. And we have started to propose video trials to the customer still open smart working. Was a real success because during the phase 1, meanwhile all the world was closing, we made 7 sessions of trials. We have put in front of the plant a different video camera. We arrange a video meeting where the customer could choose the camera to see and and to see what he would like to see. And we have used some handling camera to show details. Every person in the staff was equipped with microphone and the headphones, so it was a real success. Also during these days we are making trials in this way, and so each war brings innovation. I'm sure that also in the future this way to make trials will be common also when all the COVID problem will disappear.
That's very, very interesting. It must be rewarding to see that at the end of such an intense effort, you have obtained 2 results. One result is for the customer who has developed a new technology and a new product and is getting success. And we don't live without the success of our customers. And another is that you have defined a new method for running a laboratory. So all these trials done in this way save a lot of money in terms of time, in terms of travel, in terms of avoiding the risk, giving to the customer the possibility to check 100% the quality of the same trial. So it must have been extremely interesting. Again, if you have any question about the availability of the lab or the possibility to make these trials, please send your requests on the chat of the Zoom meeting, and Mattia and Luca will be more than happy to reply at the end of this session. Thank you, folks. Thank you very much. We are now moving towards the end of this first Meet Canon webinar, and we have the pleasure of having here the representative of a prestigious customer, who is Corrado Cecchini, is the Global R&D Insulation and Core Process Manager of Electrolux, a giant in the field of refrigerators and white appliances. He will discuss with Piero Corradi, Canon Plastics Division corporate responsible for innovation and development, about how a customer cooperates with Canon in this respect. Mr. Cecchini, welcome, first of all. Thank you very much for being with us today. We just launched a short video about the inauguration of your Porcia Innovation Factory. How R&D is managed and performed in such a large and multinational corporation?
First of all, I would like to thank Canon for the invitation to this exciting event. As you have shown in the video, we started these innovation factories in Porcia, where we have a central laboratory and also the central global R&D for washing machine and dishwasher. Basically, the R&D in Electrolux is managed at 3 different levels. One is the advanced development, a group of people dealing with projects for medium long term, and each product line, that means the category of a finished product like a refrigerator, dishwasher, washing machine or cooker. Each product line has their own architecture and global technology. Architecture is the team designing the finished appliance. They are very well linked to the sector, to the different region, to satisfy the request from the market, while global technology has the competence for all the technology needed to design and manufacture the appliance. In the specific case of refrigerators, we talk about compressor, cooling system, electronics, and insulation and materials. So I'm part of this team that is located mainly in Susegana, close to Treviso, Italy, and partially also in South Carolina, in Henderson, United States.
How many people are we talking about in this activity?
Talking about refrigeration, we are close to 1,000 people all over the world, including all the teams I have mentioned.
And what have been the most interesting or successful projects that you have run with Canon in an R&D vision?
I would like to mention the installation of a particular roto-jig in Juarez, in Mexico. This roto-jig allows to form cabinet with the standard technology face up or face down with multiple injection. It is a very flexible tool. And the second project that is still ongoing is related to Susegana development. It is called Genesis, and in this project we are going to apply the multiple injection to the European product.
Why multiple injection? And you mentioned before possibility to have face up or face down, which is less common. Why the combination of these two innovative methods of work?
Yes. With the introduction of new energy classes, especially in markets like Australia or Europe, we have been asked to improve all the modules of the appliance that contribute to make a good energy efficiency, including also insulation. And we know from the theory that so-called fast reaction Pew systems, that means shorter reaction times, can give a finer cell structure and can provide a better insulation property. On the other side, this kind of system presents some challenging issues in terms of manufacturing. First of all, we need to inject the material in a time that is shorter than the clean time. And the injection from 4 pull holes can help. The other problem is related to the relatively poor flowability of this kind of foam, and against the injection from 4 pull holes contribute to reduce the path that the foam has to flow, and we can have a good feeling of the insulation cavity.
I think you have achieved in these recent months a very interesting result in terms of demolding time, which could be one of the plus factors. How low did you go? How quick could you demold a cabinet today?
Is a little complex because demold time is linked to the quality level that we need in the different markets and different products. For example, in North America, in Henderson, we have currently the shortest demold time for the classical American top mount, 105 seconds. But in this case, we can accept a little bit higher bow on the side of the cabinet than in Europe. In Europe, we are now targeting a demold time for built-in product that is 150 seconds for the very popular combi button refrigerator. But in this case, the maximum acceptable bow is much lower than in North America.
North America. Piero, you remember when it was the time of 6-7 minutes of demolding of a fridge? It was time ago. How do you feel working with Electrolux in terms of R&D versus other companies less oriented towards a structured R&D philosophy?
Definitely it's a good feeling.
Yeah.
As you can understand from what you have seen, Electrolux is a very well structured company, and it's easy to develop together our future. We receive disparate requests from a wide range of interlocutors, and in one extreme we have the consultant, a freelance one-man company that and his goal is to convince a potential customer to achieve an improvement on the usually existing product, and this by involving Canon on the trials, study and so on. And this is the worst case, because usually this consultant has a limited technical knowledge or concentrated in one sector, not necessarily a global view of the problems around the idea, and also the limitation on investment. The maybe it's too early to put money from the end user, and personally has no money to put on development. So definitely is not the best combination. With big groups is very different. They have a vast knowledge in all sector, and they have also, from the financial point of view, a good potential to invest without limitation, say, to achieve the goal. The relations with such a customers are continuous, and it is an exchange of ideas. Sometimes the customer has some specific question to pose, so they need some advice, trials, solutions, and sometimes also Canon itself is getting some brilliant ideas from the discussion. I remember, just to remember something on that direction, in 1992.
Yesterday.
Almost.
No, the day before yesterday, yeah.
I've been able to see my first refrigerators make with polyurethane formulation, pentane expanded. And this was really something very new. And this gave to Canon the stimulus to develop new plants, ATEX compliant, in order to process a flammable blowing agent. The target at the time was to replace the notorious Freon 11 with something more green.
And that was a challenge at the moment.
Challenge at the moment, and this give up the possibility to maintain the leader and increase the leadership on the white appliance market.
Also because all the changes that have gone through in going from CFC to HCFC to HFCs and now to HFOs require a continuous adjustment of the technologies, which both have
an endless story.
An endless story. Mr. Cecchini, how are you considering the level of expertise of the Canon R&D staff and the results that you have obtained with working with Canon in these years?
Over the years, we have appreciated many times the support by Canon, also in very challenging projects. In particular, in my opinion, beside the very knowledgeable engineer in the dosing unit and the mixing unit, we received interesting proposals and ideas in other parts of the plant, for example, the distribution line, the storage, and more recently also on jigs and tools design. And I think that in the future it will be very important to have such a flexible partner, such knowledgeable partner, because the flexibility in the manufacturing will be very important to deal with new blowing agent. You mentioned before the HFOs. We started working with this new molecule in combination with cyclopentane to mitigate the cost increase and to find the best cost-performance compromise. Of course, there are finished products that can absorb the increased direct material cost and other that cannot. So we are now planning to use this new blowing agent for a part of the production. And it will be very important, the possibility to change very quickly from one foam grade to the other. Maybe one batch of refrigerator produced with the HFO and another only with cyclopentane.
Or a blend.
Or a blend, yes. And Canon is very important, very useful to develop new idea in order to make our plants very flexible for the future.
Piero, when everything goes okay with the customer on the R&D co-development, we are all happy. Aren't there times where you can say no to a customer for a joint development?
We say always no.
Okay, good.
It's not true, of course. And I would say most of the time we say yes. Canon is taking in high regard the R&D activity, the customer trials, and so on. And the size of the labs we have worldwide, we can say, and the dedicated, it's changing. and the number of engineers involved on that activity is a real proof of the importance we give to the R&D sector. Sometimes we receive requests from small to medium-sized companies that ask to develop a new product or an existing object using exotic materials. Most of the case, we don't see a commercial return on that development, and found difficult to extend to the market the application. So in this case, the answer may therefore be negative.
So if there is a possibility to extend this development to a number of other possible plans or projects, it's interesting. Otherwise, it has to be very carefully considered, and sometimes, unfortunately for the customer, refused that. Okay, Mr. Cecchini, may I ask you if you can answer what's in the boiler room of your laboratory for the next months?
Yes, we mentioned the new blowing agent, we mentioned multiple injection and fast reaction pure system, so we are working to find the right combination of these three elements. Of course, with strong support from Canon and from supplier of raw material and producer of blowing agent, because we need to develop a lot of new knowledge from chemical side to technological side, manufacturing side. I think we will experience very challenging times in the next future. And
I wish all the best for your success with us and with all customers you have in the world. Again, you can ask questions for these two gentlemen in the chat, and we will be happy to reply in the next minutes. For the time being, I ask you to stay here so we can reply together to these questions if they come. A gentleman saying, I write for several plastic and technology magazines. Would be interesting to know the impact of COVID crisis on Electrolux organization and how Electrolux overcome the difficulties. That's for you, Mr. Cecchini.
Yeah, it's a very challenging question. I can only partially answer, at least for the part related to R&D activities. We were quite lucky in Italy because we were allowed to restart R&D activities a little earlier than the standard manufacturing activity. And for this reason, we recovered part of the time we have lost during the lockdown. We, of course, had a serious impact on the timing of already ongoing project. The company tried to maximize the efforts on projects that were at the time of lockdown in a more advanced stage, where, for example, we already started issuing orders, and we absolutely need to speed up the recovery of the investment. And at the moment, we have put on hold some other projects that at the lockdown time were in let me say, a delayed stage.
Delayed stage. That's interesting. This has changed a lot in our lives. Piero, I have a question regarding from a customer who says, I would like to run some trials with you, but how about confidentiality and patent protection? In the case of development collaboration, how are these two issues treated from Canon?
No. Yeah, today we can say that every single talk, serious talk, and need a non-disclosure agreement, at least, just to start. Then, once we decide to go ahead with trials on the lab, we have something stronger, more specific, defining the activities of the subjects, and also describing the potential patents that can be applied coming from the development. Sometime in big projects that are focusing also on the commercial side aspect of the innovation, we sign a kind of priority to the customer involved with this first application of a new concept.
So security is
as Canon,
is guaranteed.
Of course, yeah. We are spending a lot of money on patents because they are expensive. One patent is 20,000–30,000 euro first year. Then you have the tax in the next years, and this for 2–3 nations only. Most of the time is enough, but if you extend to many nations, each single patent becomes 50,000, 100,000 for 10 years. So, but is very important. We need to go ahead and protect ourselves.
Absolutely, and that's what Canon did for the past 50 years. I have a question for Luca Campi from a company asking, I want to know if Canon deal with projects involving customization of properties of the product as per customer request utilizing polymers. So if I understand well, if they want to adjust the properties of the product, playing on the reactivity and on the process in the lab, not having yet an industrial equipment able to be used for that. Luca probably can answer, or even Piero can answer, but Luca, let us have your experience on this.
Obviously, yes. So we have to discuss about which is the target and how is that target in line with the target of Canon. We can speak with our management the terms of the collaboration, but this is what normally we do in our lab, at least for 20–30% of the trials. So adjust also the chemistry to achieve the target of the product that the final customer, both us and the raw material supplier customer, wants.
I have another question related with this. Do you also work in collaboration with raw material suppliers, or could I bring my own material for testing?
That is for sure that is for sure what we normally do. So we work with all the material supplier. We are independent, and we work with the biggest raw material supplier, and also with the raw material supplier that the customer decides.
So full cooperation, both in finding the best partner from the raw material supplier side, or in accepting what the customer can bring in terms of chemicals, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So to achieve the final product, we need all the people involved.
Piero has something to add.
Just 2 more words about the projects that need a modification, improvement of a product of the customer. It's important to decide for yes or not. If the added value of Canon is important, if we can add something or not. If we are asked by Electrolux to design a new refrigerator and so on, we are not the knowledge to do that. But other specific things, yes, we have the knowledge. So this is the key point.
Mattia, we have a question for you from the field. They say the project development, the medical project development showed in the video is very interesting. I did not understand how long it lasted in total.
Okay, the project that we saw in the video was, I would say, a quite long project. It took from the beginning of the conceivement of the production to the production of the test full-scale panels, as you saw, 6 to 8 months. This included some preliminary phases where we were able to make small-scale demonstrators in order to assess together with the customer that the technology we were planning to use was fit for the part that we were willing to achieve. They were then evaluating the parts that we had made, the small demonstrators. In parallel, we were starting designing the tool that you saw in the video, was making the real scale part. And once this tool was ready, together with the loading hand robot and so on, we were able to make the real scale parts with this tool inside the 1,000-ton press that we have in our lab. But also in parallel, we were designing and assembling the full-scale plant that would then be used to produce such a parts in serial production. So also the engineering department and the production department were very eager to acquire information as fast as possible and as most complete as possible, because they were in need to use this information for the industrialization already. So in the end, it went in parallel with the production.
I see 2 questions which are similar, and they could be for both Alberto and Francesco. Are we required to participate financially to the development of a project? Alberto and then Francesco, and see who is cheaper. Alberto.
Yeah, okay. Yes, we normally participate with our own resources. That means our brains. In a development project, we ask our potential customer or customer to pay a fee, which normally is a contribution to the total cost we have. Because we do not count the participation of our engineers or the part of the work we have to do. So the answer is yes. We also contribute to the total cost with our own manpower and machinery we have on floor.
And Francesco, I guess your reply could not be very different.
Yes, let me add just a few points. I anticipated during my intervention that, before the first intervention, that we have 12 people on the floor and more than 10 different working islands for different applications and different processes. Of course, flexible foam is different from insulation foam. Epoxies are different from silicones. Of course, we are a family-owned company, but we are a profit-oriented company. And honestly, we have to pay back our investment. Our investment in terms of people, in terms of machines on the floor, and
if we have to bet on a new technology, our customer has to pay, has to believe in it, and so they have to pay for that. Of course, we are able to negotiate, and this depends on the marketing application, on the commercial application, and so on. But this is a must for our product, and it's a way of selecting projects. Otherwise, we would throw away just the time and the resources.
Paolo, I have a question for you regarding a customer who say, or a visitor who says, after prototyping, do you also supply the tools for industrial production? Paolo? Paolo? I cannot hear you.
Okay. We are for sure able to do this kind of service, but I have to tell that we have a different attitude. We decided to be flexible in order to support our potential customer on different technologies. And then we structured ourselves in order to be effective in this direction. Then I think that we can for sure do this kind of job, but we are more competitive in proto phase than in serious phase. Where we at the end we have to be more focused. We have to have a lot of milling machine, for example, focus on a particular application.
I understand.
And then I think we are able to do this service, but we have a different end.
I take a last question because I think we are running quite a bit long. I would ask this to Mr. Cecchini. We deal with the design of household appliances, especially for developing countries. The issue of energy efficiency in those countries is not a selling point. Are you studying high efficiency solutions for domestic refrigerators at sustainable cost for these countries?
The answer is yes, of course, because we have also part of our market in countries like Egypt under development. In this case, we are trying to maximize the cost reduction in terms of applied density of the foam, the reduction of the labor cost by improving the efficiency in the production line. That means shortening the demold time. And in designing appliances that are simpler than the European standard, also in the phase of the after-sale service, when we need to send our technician maybe to repair the appliance.
So you do have different solutions for different countries and for different markets.
Yes.
Absolutely, you should. Well, we have other questions, but time is gone. We will try to answer you by email. Thank you very much for your questions. I would like to thank you, all our 7 Canon specialists, for their intervention, and Corrado Cecchini for his presence here today. For further questions, you still can use the plastic@canon.com email. We will be glad to reply to all your questions. I only give you a couple of appointments. The next appointment will be for the flexible foam webinar, the Meet Canon webinar on September 24th. Hours and subjects and agenda of this webinar will be published on our social media, and you can find us on YouTube, in a channel on YouTube, and on Instagram. So please follow us there, subscribe to our channels, and you will be kept always on time for our events. I thank my guests for their presence. I wish you a very good evening, and thank you for having been with us today. Thank you very much.